Good afternoon. Welcome to the GDI Consulting's webinar on the AFRL AMAC opportunity. My name is Cal and I am your artificial intelligence host today. With me is Ab Vand, VP for Capture at GDI Consulting and a subject matter expert on these opportunities. Ab will guide you through today's deep dive into the AFRL AMAC program. Whether you're new to this opportunity or have been tracking it and are looking to improve your chance of winning, this session is designed to help you prepare your proposal, review it and get a seat on this IDIQ. Let me first introduce Ab. Ab has over 30 years of experience in capture and proposal management. He is considered an expert in self-scoring as well as traditional proposal and capture efforts. Ab has managed over 1,000 successful capture and proposal efforts and is a regular contributor to many online GovCon magazines. He has also held numerous training webinars for various APMP chapters and APEX, previously PTAC, offices throughout the U.S. Before starting, there are a few housekeeping notes I would like to mention. First, this webinar is being recorded and the link to the recording will be sent to you within 24 hours. Second, we will hold a Q&A session at the end. You can send your questions during the webinar by the chat system to the right of your window and Ab will address them at the end. Third, you can download this presentation by clicking on the link under File on the right-hand side panel on your window. We highly recommend you download the slide deck so that you can always refer back to it. So let's see what this webinar covers. We will first have a quick glimpse on GDI Consulting's capabilities. Then, Ab will provide some general info on the opportunity as well as its scope and domains. Then he will have a deep dive into the proposal structure and scoring system. Next he will discuss the government's evaluation and source selection system. Ab will also touch on the issue of teaming as many have questions on that. Finally, before going into the Q&A, Ab will provide some general recommendations and insights towards preparing a winning proposal. So, with that, I will now hand over the control to Ab to first give a short glimpse on GDI Consulting's capabilities. Ab, you can take over now.
Hello everyone and thank you Cal. As Cal mentioned, we highly recommend that you download the slide deck to refer back to it. Due to the limited time we have, I might go over some topics a little bit too fast, but if you download the slide deck, you can always come back to it, or you can actually ask any questions you have at the end when we get to the Q&A session. Okay, so let's start now. Let me very quickly give you an intro to our company and then dive into the AFRL AMAC opportunity. So GDI Consulting has been in business for over 15 years and we have established ourselves as the premier self-scoring experts in the market. This is not a boast, just see those numbers, including the fact that we prepared 97 successful proposals for our clients on Oasis Plus alone. That speaks by itself, as Oasis Plus, like the AFRL AMAC, is a self-scoring type opportunity. We have over 650 satisfied and repeat clients, 86 of whom are very large businesses, some of them on the top 10 list of the largest defense contractors. You can later refer to this page for more information on our company if you like. I won't go into the details here. So, these are the services, and due to the limited time, I won't go into the details of each, as most of you are our webinars repeat viewers. So just suffice to say that we have 4 main lines of service, including proposal development, capture management, specific support services like competitive intel or price to win, and finally customized training. So we strive to be a one-stop shop for federal and SLED business development needs of small and large firms. Okay. So let's then dive into the AFRL AMAC, the main subject of our webinar. This slide provides the structural overview. The ceiling is $10 billion in terms of the funding, but this is entirely task order driven. Contractors will compete under either the small business or the unrestricted pool. So there are 2 pools here. They're going to award to all companies that are found to be qualified, so no set number of awardees. The ordering period is long, 5-year base, and 3 1-year options. Note that for this contract, the CMMC DFARS clause do apply. So you need to be aware that you need to get the CMMC certification. Some of the important dates for this opportunity are the final RFP was issued, released on January 22nd of this year, following the deadline for questions, which was on January 9th. So officially, there's no new period for questions. That's closed. Proposals are currently due on February 27th. We will see if they will extend or not. Remember that submission is through the government's enterprise portal, not usual email. Okay, before diving into the proposal, let's also talk about the scope of the AFRL AMAC, because we need to understand the different domains, as they call them, and their sub-areas for preparing a successful proposal. So before discussing the scope itself, let's agree on something to reduce confusion. AFRL stands for Air Force Research Laboratory. So let's call this opportunity AFRL AMAC to distinguish it from the agency itself, okay? Because I've seen some people confusing the two. This slide explains why the AFRL created the AFRL AMAC vehicle. This is not a typical IDIQ meant for sustainment or advisory services. It's specifically built to accelerate science and technology across the entire AFRL enterprise. So the government's objective is to create a mechanism where industry can quickly and rapidly bring forward innovative ideas, advanced research, and disruptive technologies that can transition into operational military capabilities at the end. So AFRL is emphasizing speed, innovation, and technology transition, not the traditional program execution. The language in the SUE makes it clear that AFRL wants access to a broad and diverse set of contractors who can work across emerging and existing technology areas. The emphasis on prototyping and characterization of system concepts shows that this vehicle is meant to bridge research into operational use. That's the difference here between AFRL, AMAC, and other contracts. So this slide sets the stage for understanding that the AMAC is an S&T acceleration vehicle, not a services contract. And everything that follows in the solicitation supports this purpose. Now here, we are explaining what AFRL means by scope. So the SUE clearly states that this vehicle spans the full spectrum of science and technology research, from basic research all the way to integration and transition into military capability. What is important here is that this is not limited to research papers or theoretical studies. The scope explicitly includes modeling, simulation, fabrication, experimentation, test beds, and demonstration. That means that a real tangible technology development is in their mind. The inclusion of digital architecture and model-based systems engineering shows AFRL's emphasis on modern engineering practices and digital threat concepts. Contractors with capabilities in data analytics, simulation, and digital engineering are directly aligned with this vehicle. And finally, the scope language confirms that the AMAC is intended to take technologies from concept to demonstrable capability that can be transitioned into operational use all the way. Now, there are 4 domains, and this is important because we need to come back to this when we discuss the scoring system. There are 4 domains that we need to understand as it's used in the proposal. For the scoring in the proposal, which I will explain later, you must map your prime federal S&T contracts directly to one or more of these domains and their sub-areas, specifically to the sub-areas, which are called areas of interest. Okay, so be familiar with that, areas of interest, or AOI or AOIs, areas of interests, whatever. So AOIs are areas of interest, meaning the sub-areas under each of these four domains. So the air technology domain, the space technologies domain, cyberspace and electronic technologies domain, and cross-cutting technologies domain, four of them. So let's go through each of them separately to understand what we need to do. So the first one is the air domain with its areas of interest, which are listed here. What AFRL is looking for here is not general aerospace experience, but very specific science and technology prime contract performance that is aligned to these exact topics that are listed here. So each area of the interest is explained in detail in the SU document. I'm not going to go over them, but if you look at them, the first four AOIs focus on the human element of air operations: human performance, aerospace medicine, survivability, and cognitive sciences. These represent AFRL's interest in improving how our warfighters perform and survive in demanding air environments. The next group, advanced air vehicles, propulsion, aerodynamics, and hypersonics, show AFRL's focus on next generation flight technologies, including high-speed systems and advanced maneuverability. And the final set, weapons technologies, energetics, guidance and control, and munitions survivability, are essentially directly tied to precision engagement and combat capability. So these are the AOIs or sub-areas under the air domain. The second domain is the space domain with its areas of interest. This is not limited to satellite, but includes launch systems, propulsion, autonomy, and resiliency. Space access and orbital systems refer to launch and maneuvering capabilities. Spacecraft and satellite technologies include bus design, payloads, and communications. Space power and propulsion focus on long duration operations and maneuverability. On-orbit autonomy and servicing show AFRL's interest in keeping assets operational and self-sustaining. Space situational awareness and resilience architecture are focused on survivability in contested environments. And finally, PNT from space is critical to both air and ground operations. The third domain is the largest and most diverse domain, in fact. So AFRL is combining cyber, sensing, spectrum dominance, and advanced physics into one scoring domain. So cyber operations and networks represent digital battlefield capability. Electronic warfare and spectrum operations refer to control of the electromagnetic environment. The sensing technologies, EOIR, radar, multispectral, and sensor fusion are about advanced detection and intelligence gathering. And phonetics and high-power microwave were specifically clarified in the summary of changes that the government issued, meaning that AFRL wanted to ensure that these were clearly understood and scorable. Directed energy, lasers, and adaptive optics indicate research into next-generation weapons and sensing technologies, as everybody knows. And navigation warfare and counter-PNT show focus on operating in GPS-denied environments. Okay, the final domain captures technologies that support all other domains. Many contractors will find scoring opportunities here, in fact. So human-machine teaming and simulation support operational training, systems engineering, MBSE, and digital threat support modern engineering practices that AFRL wants to see. Integrated vehicle health management and thermal management were clarified in the final RFP and are important AOIs in areas of interest. Material, additive manufacturing, and microelectronics show AFRL's interest in advanced fabrication and hardware innovations. AI, analytics, and modular architectures indicates AFRL's push toward digital resilience and interoperable systems. So these were the 4 main domains and their sub areas, or as the RFP calls them, areas of interest. And we need to map our contracts to these. I'll come back to this later on. So we will come back to the domains in a minute, but let's dive into the proposal structure first and see how it's structured. So the structure of the proposal has 3 volumes. Volume 1 is essentially the administrative documents, including sections 1, 2, and 3, which are seen here. So company information, contract documentations, the SF forms that you have to sign, and reps and certs. Volume 2 is divided by factor 1, which is the meat of the proposal, and we will discuss it in detail in later slides. And here you claim points based on how well your contracts align with the AOIs or sub areas we discussed under the 4 domains we mentioned in the scope. Factor 2 is small business participation commitment document. Then in volume 3, you provide your small business subcontracting plan and how you align to the government's socioeconomic percentages goals set for this opportunity. Note that most of your response goes into the document called Attachment 2 Proposal Response Guide. And you can see a method of submission. Most of them is written proposal response guide. So it's one document, most of the information goes there. Obviously, you know, the contract, the SF forms and reps and certs. Also, I will discuss the proof for the scoring, which goes as PDF copies of your contracts, that sort of thing. These are separate from the proposal response guide, but the rest goes into that, and I will explain that in a minute. Make sure that you fill out this form properly, as it's the crux of getting the proper score and being selected as the qualifying offer. Okay, so let's start with volume 1 very quickly. For the sake of time, I will not discuss volume 1 in detail, and in fact volume 3, as they are based on the usual federal proposal preparation requirements. Everybody is familiar with them, but I've put the slides here. You can review these in case you want to be updated on them, but these are the usual documents that you have to fill out, like any other document, any other opportunity. Let's then go into volume 2, which is the core of the evaluation. There are 2 factors in it, factor 1 and factor 2. Now, factor 1 is where you demonstrate your prime federal S&T experience by mapping your contracts directly to the AOIs, the areas of interest, from the SUE that we discussed in the 4 domains. The latest Q&A makes this very clear. Subcontractor experience does not count. So only prime experience, and it has to be federal. So you can't use state and local or even commercial contracts. So prime federal contracts you can only use. There is also a restriction on how old, there is no restriction actually how old the contract is, nor is there a restriction on the minimum value of the contract. So as long as the SAO in the contract explains it relates to one of the areas of interest, you're good to go. The contract doesn't have to have any minimum value or be, you know, within the past 5 years, things like that, that other opportunities require. Note that you cannot claim points from one single AOI multiple times. So even if 2 or more contracts relate to one AOI, you can only claim that once. So that's something to consider. Now, the spreadsheet calculates points automatically as soon as you enter the contract number for each AOI, and the government validates documentation before award. So in effect, you claim the points, provide the documentation to prove the points, and then the government is going to check those documents. If you're good to go and you're above a minimum threshold that I will get to, you're good to go, you're awarded. So this is part of the second tab in the proposal response guide that has the volume 2 form that you need to fill out for each of the contracts that you use. So as I said, you want to relate your contracts to those AOIs. Each contract that you're going to use, you fill out this form for. There are 21 of these overall in the second tab of the proposal response guide. It's called actually attachment 2 proposal response guide, and the second tab has 21 of these forms: reference contract 1, reference contract number 2, and so on and so forth. So obviously you will not use 21. Usually you probably will use 5, 6, 10, around that number, but that's it. You need to fill out this form, and this is for example, what you're seeing is reference contract number 1. Note that you need to input the contract number, contract name or title, period of performance, and which AOI it relates to. You have to write it here. It might relate to multiple. You can put it here. The most important part is the narrative summary from the SAO and why this contract is relevant to the stated AOI. You need to be very clear and at the same time provide precise citings from the SAO. Even though you attach the SAO, but here you want to make sure that you are very precise and concise with regards to demonstrating the relevance. So factor 2 is the small business participation. We are still in volume 2. I said that volume 1 and volume 3 are the usual, but I will go very quickly over factor 2 and volume 3, in fact. So factor 2 is the small business participation commitment document, or as they call it, the SBPCD. The latest Q&A makes it very clear that the SBPCD is critical and is not a normal subcontracting plan. It is an evaluated factor. It's a pass-fail sort of, acceptable, unacceptable. You fill out the form, which is the 4th tab on attachment 2 proposal response guide. So don't use any other forms. Use that form in that document, attachment 2 proposal response guide. So failure to properly complete this can actually make a proposal unacceptable. You don't want to do that. Now, let me quickly also go over volume 3. Volume 3 is the small business subcontracting plan. Large businesses need to provide a small business subcontracting plan. Small businesses don't need to do that. If your goals for each set aside is less than the government's goal, you must provide a substantiated rationale for not meeting that goal. Now, what are the government's goals? They're listed here. So overall, the small business goal is 33%. Small disadvantage of that, the small disadvantage is 12%. Women-owned small business 8%. SDVOSB at least 5%, and Hub Zone at least 1%. So these are all at least. Okay, so that's the volume 3, and this is written. So you have to prepare a written subcontracting plan that you submit to the government as part of your proposal. Okay, let's dive into the scoring system of the AFRL AMAC now. So this is the self-scoring sheet that you need to fill out, and I will explain the details of it in the next few slides. This is the 3rd tab on attachment 2 proposal response guide, which is called the self-scoring spreadsheet, and it's locked actually to prevent manipulation. So on the self-scoring sheet, you're not you don't assign yourself any points. The formula is automatically calculated. You just enter the contract number in column F, which is the yellow column that you're seeing. So for each of those AOIs that you see in white under, for example, air domain, if you have a contract that corresponds to it, you just put in the contract number. Remember that you fill out that reference form on the second tab, and here on third tab, you actually claim the point. And then the government will review this. If it's okay, if it's validated, on the right-hand side, you see there's another form, and that's for the government's assessment. So that's all you have to do as far as claiming the points. Just put in the contract number in front of each of these AOIs that you think is relevant. Now I'm going to go through each domain separately on the next slides, but here are some general information. The 1000 minimum point is the gate. So if an offeror cannot validate 1000 points evaluation of the government, when the government is evaluating, it stops. And if and if you're above 1000 or above it, you are awarded, assuming that everything else is in place. All the other points, all the other factors and volumes are pass-fail. So, you've signed the SF forms, reps and certs are okay, and the small business subcontracting are okay. Everything then depends on getting those 1000 points at least. If you're above that, you're good to go, you are awarded. They're not going to compare you with anyone else. The latest Q&A emphasizes that only one claim per AOI is allowed, as I mentioned, and multiple contracts do not add value for the same AOI. And then once you fill out this form, the government is going to validate it, and you're awarded. That's that easy. So let's go domain by domain and see how it works. So in the air domain, the spreadsheet allows up to 1200 points. Note that although for each area of interest, the number 10 is written as weight, forget about that. Consider it that each has a point score of 100. So for any of these 12 that you see here, the AOIs, 12 AOIs that you see here under the air domain, you get 100 points. That easy. Now, if you get 600 points or above, automatically a bonus of 500 points is added to your points. So you don't need to have 10 of these, for example, to get above 1000 points. All you have to do is to find 6 relevances. Once you get 600, automatically another 500 bonus points are added to your points, which takes you to what? To 1100 points. You're good to go. Okay, so it's important to understand this. And again, just to make sure you understand, remember you cannot put 2 contracts for one of these AOIs. So 1 contract per AOI. Now, this means that if you have experience only under this domain, you need at least 600 points, meaning 6 references, and you're good to go. You are awarded. That's the air domain. Let's go to the space domain. That allows 800 points overall because it has 8 different AOIs. Now, to obtain the 500 point bonus, which this one has, you need 5 contracts or 500 points. Once you get the 500 points, another 500 bonus is automatically added to you, and you reach the 1000 minimum points. So if your type of business is only in the space domain, all you need to get on this contract, on this IDIQ, is to have 5 relevances here. So 5 of these AOIs, if you prove relevance, you're good to go because a bonus of 500 is automatically added to you. Okay, the third domain is the cyber EW domain, allowing 1,700 points because there are 17 AOIs here. Now, to receive the 500 bonus, you need 700 points. So here you need 7 contracts to get the minimum to go over the threshold. So once you get the 700 points, another 500 is added to you. You get 1,200. You're above 1,000. You're good to go. So that's how it works. And then the final domain is the cross-cutting domain. This one has 1,900 points because it has 19 AOIs. The bonus requires 800 points. So you get the bonus, which is 500 again, if you have 8 contracts that are relevant. So if you have that, then another 500 is added. That's 1,300 and you're good to go. But there are 19 areas here that you can actually show relevance to. So let's wrap up the scoring discussion. So as long as your score is 1,000 or above, you are awarded, assuming your proposal's other areas are deemed acceptable. You can get to that minimum 1,000 points from just one domain or from a combination of points from different domains. There is no restriction. It's up to you. Depends. Some companies are very diversified. They might get points from different domains. Some companies are very focused. They get everything from one domain. For each contract you use, you must fill out the corresponding form on tab 2 of the same document, citing the SAO for proof, and then attaching the SAO document and the award document to the proposal. Remember that you cannot claim points multiple times from one area of interest, and ensure you do multiple rounds of review for compliance in form and in content to make sure that the proof of your relevance is there, is clear, and is concise. Okay, let's now discuss how source selection is done for this opportunity. This is one of the most misunderstood parts of the AMAC. The AFRL is not selecting the best contractors. They're awarding to all contractors who meet the definition of a qualifying offerer. That definition is very clear in Section M. A company must be responsible, obviously, the usual responsible for all opportunities, compliant with Section L, and receive acceptable ratings for both Factor 1, that's the minimum 1,000 points, and Factor 2, the acceptable small business participation commitment document. And also assuming that Volume 1, the administrative part, is filled out correctly, and Volume 3, small business subcontracting plan, receives acceptable rating. This is why the scoring system exists. That the government is not ranking proposals, they're validating that you meet the threshold. So all companies that get above 1,000 points are awarded. So essentially this is a gate-based award, not a competitive ranking award. Section M is explicit. There is no price evaluation. This is allowed under the FAR because the AFRL AMAC AFRL is awarding to all qualifying offers on the AMAC, and price will be evaluated at the task order level. The evaluation is purely about technical acceptability, which is why the scoring spreadsheet and the SBPCD that's Factor 2, are so important. Also critical, the government evaluates only the prime. The subcontractor experience does not count for scoring. I want to emphasize this. If the offer is a joint venture, the government may evaluate both the JV and its partners. Okay, let's, I touched on the teaming on previous slide, but let's discuss it here as well, how it works. So as far as teaming is concerned, in AFRL AMAC, joint ventures are allowed, but prime sub relationship, although allowed, does not add value as far as the AMAC IDIQ award is concerned. For joint ventures, AFRL may evaluate both the JV and its partners. However, for scoring purposes, only prime federal experience matters. So the prime sub relationship doesn't add value as you can't use your subs contracts to get points. This means forming a team to gain points, prime sub relationship does not work. Teaming is important later at the task order level, not at the IDIQ award level time. So you can actually form your teams later on as well if you want. So subcontractors can be anyone at the task order level. They don't have to be, the awardees or anything like that. So teaming for the AMAC is a strategic business decision, not a scoring decision. Just wanted to emphasize this. Let's now discuss strategy and share some experience. A sound strategy to get on this vehicle, in a nutshell, is to select your strongest prime contracts that align clearly to multiple AOIs with clear documentation. That's the shortest recommendation I can make. Now a little bit more detail. So there are different strategies for two types of contractors. We have the focused ones, the niche contractors, who cover perhaps one domain only. So you need to try and get the minimum number of relevant AOIs in your domain to get the bonus and get above 1,000. The second group are the diversified contractors. You can get a combination of AOIs from different domains to get above 1,000 points threshold. You might not even look for the bonus. So maybe you have 3 or 4 contracts in each of the domains. You never get the bonus, but you get above 1,000 points. Another key factor is the write-up from the SAO, and you need to ensure you have a concise and concrete proof of relevance. You don't want to face the situation in which you did a sloppy work and your write-up is not properly done. You really deserved the point, the relevance, but the government just does not see it there. Also ensure that you attach the SAO and the award documents for all contracts that you use. Ensure that you use the contracts with the highest relevance compatibility. In this, you need to profile each contract based on the different AOIs and then decide which to use. So for each AOI, you might have multiple contracts. Pick the one that is the most clear in terms of the relevance. Put yourself in the shoes of the reviewers and see which of these is easier to understand in terms of the relevance to the AOI. Okay, continuing that. So remember that contract value or contract recency is irrelevant. Sometimes a very small contract might cover one or many needed AOIs. So go through all your contracts. The contract might be about something else completely, but has a little bit of, one of these AOIs that you're missing. So in fact, you need to profile, as we call it, or go through all your contracts, not just necessarily the one that the main subject or the focus of that contract is towards one of these 4 domains. Compliance and proper document management are a key part in these types of proposals, the sub-scoring proposals. Assign people familiar with such work to the project. In this regard, create checklists for scoring, for document management of the proof documents, and for final preparations and for submissions. So you need different types of checklists to make sure that you're compliant and everything is in place properly. Don't underestimate the importance of compliance and reviews. We've seen many companies lose because they've not done it properly. So perform multiple rounds of reviews for compliance and ensuring your logic on proving relevance is sound. If you have not done self-scoring proposals before, get an outside company to prepare the proposal, or at least, and I want to emphasize, at least review it for you. You need a second set of eyes who are professionals on this to make sure that you really have nailed those points. And then submission is through the government's enterprise portal. Get connected to this today. The link is on the RFP. You can go there. Don't wait until the last day and then run into connection problems. It's simple and straightforward. So go in there. You have to register your company first, and then you can submit your proposal. So at the end, how can we at GDI Consulting help you on the AFRL AMAC? These are the services we are providing to clients for the AFRL AMAC. Obviously, free consultation. We can jump on a call and answer any questions that you might have. We do pre-qualification assessment, making sure that you have the minimum score if possible. Then we do full proposal development with dedicated proposal team. Everything will be on us. We do first score assessment optimization, then putting the proposal together, making sure all those documents are in there, writing all the citations from the SAO, ensuring that they're top notch, and then full and multiple compliance checks, at least 2 rounds, and help on uploading to enterprise portal and auditing it there. For those companies who do have their own teams and are preparing their proposals and have done this before, self-scoring types proposals before, we do reviewing and auditing. So we do 2 rounds of compliance checks, score optimization checks, and help on uploading to enterprise portal. So these are the services we can provide. So connect with us and let us know what you need. Here are contact information, my email and phone number, and my colleague Maroon Freedy's email and phone number. Email is preferable. If you have technical questions, email me directly. If you want to set up a call, or if you have business inquiries, sales, consulting, any inquiries like that, just email Maroon and we'll get back to you immediately. Okay, we have reached the Q&A, and we can go from there now. Okay, so question from Mary. You mentioned that we can't use subcontractors' contracts to gain points. What if our own contracts are subcontracts? No, Mary, they only accept prime contracts. So the contracts that you are going to use must be prime as well. You cannot use subcontracts. Question from Stan. You mentioned that we need to profile our contracts. Can you explain what you mean by that? Okay, so you should read through the SAO for each contract and then see how it maps to each of the AOIs in each domain. So we need to have a checklist that has your contracts each on different columns, and then the 4 domains and their AOIs each being a row. Then when reading the SAO for each contract, you tick mark the appropriate AOIs. So you understand, what AOIs each contract covers by itself. The way we do it at GDIC is not just a tick mark, rather we score them by A, B, and C. So A being very clear and concise proof, B being somewhat clear, and C being too vague. This way it's then easier to pick which contract to use for each AOI. So you should do it that way if you prefer. Remember, at the end of the day, you can't use more than 1 contract for each AOI. So you need to pick the best one that will nail down relevance and proof. So that's what I call profiling. Question from Janet. If we engage you, will you do the contract selection or we have to do it? Once we take on a job, Janet, it is our responsibility to go through all your contracts and pick the best ones, of course, under your supervision. All you need to do is to provide us with the SAO documents, and then we'll go through the entire contracts you have. And then, we come back to you and say, hey, this is the situation. These are the contracts we have picked, and this is the reason. So we will obviously report to you, but all the work will be on us. Question from Tina. Do you think they will extend the deadline for submission? I suggest that you don't count on that. The period of questioning is past, so they're not accepting new questions, at least officially. So I recommend that you set your timelines to meet the submission deadline of February 27th. Question from George. What is the maximum number of contracts we can use? Okay, so theoretically, there are 21 forms for 21 contracts in the second tab of Attachment 2 Proposal Response Guide. But do note that in all domains, once you have between 5 to 8 contracts, you get a bonus and you're past the 1,000 threshold. So they're not going to compare your score with others. So if you get 2,000 points and another company gets 1,000 points, both, there's any difference. Both of you will be awarded. So I don't see a possibility of, using 21 contracts ever. It's just not reasonable. Question from Mark. Can we be prime in one submission and then be a subcontractor in another submission? Yes, Mark, they mentioned that in the Q&A. You can, because when you're a subcontractor, it's essentially for the task order level. As a subcontractor, your contracts, cannot be used to gain points for the IDIQ. So obviously, there's no, conflict here. Question from James. How long will it take you to do a review? Okay, so we usually do 2 rounds of review to make sure there are no glitches. So after the first round, once you correct the proposal and send it back to us, we do a second round to ensure full adherence to the requirements and maximizing the score. And we check all documents, not just volume 2 scoring part. For the first review, we would need 3 to 4 days, and for the second one, 1 day should be enough. Now, at the end of each review, we produce a written report and then usually hold a meeting with you, going over all the points to answer any questions that you might have. Question from Alice. Did you say that prime sub-partnerships cannot participate? No, Alice, they can participate. In fact, JVs, MPJVs, that's mentor-protege JVs, and prime sub-partnerships, in addition to going solo, all of them are acceptable. They can participate. What I said is that if you have a prime sub-teaming, you cannot use the subs contracts to gain points. Question from Bob. Is there a difference in the minimum required score between large business pool and small business pool? No, no difference, Bob. The minimum threshold point is 1,000 for both. Okay, I think I have answered all questions. I will go through the questions once more because I skipped some that were sales related. And if I have missed anything, I will respond by email. So we end the webinar at this point. I would like to thank everyone for participating. I look forward to seeing you in our future webinars as well. Have a great day.